Okay, we're to solve this linear system using Cramer's rule. This requires commuting three determinants. The first of which is just taking the coefficients out of the equations on the left. The x coefficients are 2 and negative 10. It's like the x column of the matrix. The y coefficients are negative 1 and 5. So that's the y column of this determinant matrix. So computing this determinant, we have 2 times 5, which is 10, minus the product of the numbers in the other diagonal. Negative 10 times negative 1 is positive 10. So we're subtracting 10 from 10, which leaves 0. Now when d equals 0, we have a little bit of a problem here, because recall that that x was supposed to equal d sub x divided by d. Well, that's d sub x divided by 0. That's a problem. This means that either these lines are parallel, these two lines of our linear system are parallel lines which don't intersect, and that's how that contradiction arises. There is no x and y then that makes both of these equations simultaneously true. So when we write down the equations, we're lying to begin with. This is impossible if there's no solution. There is no x and y that make both equations true at the same time. So that's what the 0 could mean. It could also mean that these are actually the same line and have infinitely many solutions. So we need to decide, are there infinitely many solutions to this instead of just one solution? Or is there no solution to this? Kind of a big difference. To determine this, we simply can look at d sub x. If d sub x is also 0, then these are the same line. They're different equations of exactly the same line, and there'd be infinitely many solutions. That's if this d sub x is 0. If d sub x does not equal 0, then it's the case where there's no solution. So let's look at d sub x, and we'll know what the situation is here. So d sub x is the same matrix, but we're covering the x column with 1, 1, the stuff on the right side of the equal sign. The y column will remain the same, negative 1 and 5. So this gives us 1 times 5 is 5, minus the product of the other numbers. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. So we're subtracting a negative 1, which really means adding 1. So d sub x is equal to 6. So this does not equal 0. Remember, if it equaled 0 here, there'd be infinitely many solutions. The fact that it does not equal 0 means that there is no solution, because these lines are parallel lines. And we say for such a system that the linear system, is inconsistent. Inconsistent because there is no solution. The lines are parallel.